we've obviously touched on the technology and what it's doing, but can you kind of think of the examples where technology has been in effect and impacted building societies, credit unions or FIs that you work with that have really kind of changed the way they operate and what it delivers to their customers already, just the way they operate?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked quite a bit, haven't we, around the differences between savings and loans, and actually we've got good examples of where technology has assisted both, and we'll talk about both. But first off, from a savings point of view, the one thing that we've seen almost all building societies now do is put savings online. You know, so traditionally where the savers were very regional, as we've talked about, you know, everybody who was opening a savings account was going into a branch to do it. As soon as you put that online and make it so that you've got that national reach for somebody who wants to save with you, then we've seen that fundamentally change the business models of a lot of our building societies in terms of how they can attract funds. You know, a lot of people talk about being Martin Lewis once they've done that, because they've put a good rate up, and all of a sudden, you know, it's not just, you know, people from the local town that are saving with them. It's people nationally, and obviously, you know, that enables them to, you know, to do a lot more within their business because they're getting those more funds in. I think that for me, since I've been in the sector, that's fundamentally the biggest thing that's helped people to date in terms of changing the way their businesses operate as a direct result of technology. I think when we talk about lending, there's an increasing amount of activity, and we're doing a lot ourselves in utilising technology to basically make people be able to write mortgages more quickly and as a result write more mortgages. So whilst not going down the automated route in terms of automated decision and things like that, because a lot of building societies pride themselves in being able to write the specific cases that they offer. Technology is enabling it to be a lot more efficient. You know, so today somebody might, you know, collect a mortgage application and then have to go to, you know, 4, 5, 6 different data points to get more data to allow them to ultimately make a decision on a mortgage application. Whereas, you know, here and now, and actually already, we're able to automate that with technology to be able to say, right, we've got a mortgage application, go and harvest data from lots more sources, so that ultimately put that in front of an underwriter to enable them to make a decision more quickly. And that's started now, and I think over the, you know, in the next couple of years, it will be the default thing that we talk about when somebody says, how is technology, you know, enhanced business processes within building societies, because you'll be talking about the fact that they're all able to do more things more quickly because of technology. But
automation can still come in forms of your evaluations, which is crazy, but they've been around for years. Digital banking, digital self-serve upload of documents, open banking. You know, instead of waiting for those paper bank statements, can you connect to open banking and get that data through? So although you're still providing that, as you said, that manual, a human intervention of we're looking at this as a person, all your data sources are provided automatically, as opposed to post me in or give to your broker who's going to certify them, give to us. We can use open banking, whether that be on the broker side or whether it be on the lender side. There are options and depends who wants the risk, but certainly from a savings perspective as well, things like automated maturities. You know, do you get an email? Do you have to do, what can you do automatically? Can you give your instructions to them to say, when my period ends, I want you to put it into that account, or I want to do this? There's lots of ways we can make things better for them, and I think one of the key ones that I remember hearing quite regularly that you still hear now is the systems aren't connected. You will have a mortgage application that is completed, that will go to a human who will then look at it and then rekey it into another system for them to then look at it and go, oh brilliant, now I'll put it into another. It shouldn't be that way. It should be, I'll look at it, click the button, it processes it through. You know, it should be straight through processing with that step in at the certain times. And I think, as you say, some companies are there. So you know, this isn't a no one's there, you know, in the future, because some are there already. There are great financial institutions, banks, and even building societies out there knocking this stuff out of the park. but there's a long way to go for others, and they need to kind of play catch up to ensure they continue that market share, they continue their growth and being competitive and being seen in the market.
So throughout our conversation, we've touched quite a bit on data and technology and the fact that there's a lot of data exists in core systems. And so I think a lot about how people, there's a lot of data that exists, but how much do people use it? First off, how much do they understand and trust it? I always think that's a key part. It's still commonplace, isn't it, to sit in a meeting with half a dozen people and put some figures up, and somebody sits there and says, I don't agree with those. So you've got to get to that. We collect a lot of data. You've got to make sure that the people who consume it understand what that data says and trust it. But then they've got to start to use that data to make better decisions, and that's certainly for me the first place that analytics starts to come into play, because technology nowadays can look at your data, spot the trends, and tell you. I think you gave an example earlier that you've got 10 savers within a mile of your branch, so therefore should you be thinking about going marketing specifically to them about coming on board with you for a mortgage product? I think that kind of use of data, some people are doing it, some people are doing it well. I think other people are getting there, and I think technology plays a big part there.
I mean, when you think about the tech and where it's going and what we've seen, I don't think it's going to suddenly, the world will change, but I don't think it'll be different. Well, 7-8 years on since that statement, they're still going strong, they're still growing. If anything, they're cementing their position in the regional space, and as we talked about throughout this, their mortgages go national. They're in a really strong position, well funded and well thought of. I think the technology is going to not change them completely. It's not going to change their fundamentals. It's going to support them in doing more.
Correct.
It's going to make their life easier. It's going to mean that they're not rekeying. They've got a straight through processing. They can put their people into spending more time doing something else that maybe they can't do now. So we talk about the data. Maybe they can't get to that data yet because they're busy doing other things to keep the machine moving. So that technology will empower them to say, you don't need to do this, go over here and do this. And now we can say, right, that's straight through processing, but over here we've got data. Let's look at a mortgage product, building something new that goes to the regional market because we've got the intel here, and we can do that, support it with open banking. When you've got a customer doing a mortgage, does open banking give them more data that says, well, hang on a minute, you've also got another savings account over there. Can you start cross-marketing that way? I mean, data is, they say, one of the most valuable things moving forward. Ultimately, the data is owned by us. We own our own data, but there are elements of that that building societies, credit unions, banks are doing it a lot better than others because they've got the capacity. How can they use that to start positioning things differently? Green and sustainability, that's key. So they're going to want to know, and maybe through some of that, people can start pushing back to the customer and the end user, that consumer, this is what we're doing. They can find out more. So I think data will ultimately give more transparency for each, the consumer as well as the building societies, banks, credit unions, that will allow them to know what they should do, not just more of the same. Let's tweak our 2-year, let's tweak our 5-year, let's do a better rate on our savings. Oh my God, let's build a product here that suddenly is new, that does deliver for the local market, might have pockets elsewhere. It might be you've got people who have, I don't know, holiday homes, you name it, which some communities don't like, but they will have those elements. So yeah, again, we come back to the comment we made earlier. The iPhone is continually coming out. It's not suddenly a game changer anymore. It's just a bit better. It's a bit better each time. And I think, as we move on to 5, 10, it will just get better. It's going to get better. We're not suddenly going to see radically, a building societies no longer got our branches fully online. That's not going to happen, I don't think. I think it will just be, they get better, they get slicker, they can deliver more for their customers and their staff. Because when we talk about a lot of the technology and the way we transform and what it means to them, everyone instantly goes to, what do we do for our customers? What do you do for your staff? What do you do as a business? And I'll use the building society here as an example. What does a building society offer its staff to retain and attract the best talent? Because if you're not giving them the latest tech to make them excited to work on, they'll go and work at the bank next door that does offer them the tech. And there's lots of that I think we forget in the bigger picture. It's always, I need to do a new originations, connect to a new core to get more customers in. Okay, but that's all well and good, but if you haven't got the people working within your institution to deliver and work on that tech stack, you can't change. So there's lots of that we need to consider as well.
That is really interesting point, that, and it often gets forgotten, but you know, I've always worked in core systems in different sectors, but always in core systems, and often you focus on the consumer in terms of the experience, you know, because it's all about the consumer experience. You've got to give them the new tech, but increasingly nowadays, because all our expectations of technology have enhanced because of the smartphone and just tech being out and about everywhere, then, you know, it used to be that because you paid somebody to do a job, that you could sit them in front of a poor system with a poor user experience, but you get away with it. You can't anymore, you know, because you're spot on, you know, and in terms of they'll just go somewhere where the tech is good. And
it's not even just the tech, isn't it? It's, you think, since a post-COVID world we're now in, there's so many people, I know some companies say, back to the office, but lots of companies aren't. They're remote, they're hybrid, which means you need a technology stack to support that. And if you don't have the right technology in-house, there'll be some that you can't do because of data protection, you know, regulatory, you need to be in-house, but you have to give your staff the freedom and ability to work a day at home because you've got the right systems and stacks in-house, and keep that talent, because if you said, oh no, our systems can't offer it, you must be in 5 days a week, I'm going to go elsewhere. So it all goes together, and I think looking forward, they'll be able to bring in new talent as well as retain what they've got.